This is the Good Neighbor Podcast, the place where local businesses and neighbors come together. Here's your host, Sean Preston.
Welcome, everybody, to the Good Neighbors Podcast, Good Neighbor Podcast. I don't want to get in trouble with Jeff. He's given me shit a couple of times. It's the Good Neighbor Podcast, and today we have a good neighbor on. It is Kacy Currie from TopDog K9 Services. What's up, hon?
Happy to be here.
I'm really happy to have you on board as well. To talk, we've had a chance to meet. It's been a little while since me and you had our last conversation.
Yes.
But you've got a lovely business. And so why don't we dive right into it? Why don't you tell our listeners a little bit about your business?
Okay. So we're Barrie's longest established daycare training boarding facility. We are open 7 to 6, Monday to Friday. Overnight care is available for pre-screened clients only. We offer 3 levels of boarding. So kennel boarding where they stay on site, suites where they stay on site, or they come into our home. So they're part of our house, part of our homes. Those dogs do additional screening because we have kids, because we have cats, because we have pets of our own.
Right.
But those guys become part of our family. And in addition to that, we have the daycare. We offer pickup and drop off service for those that our hours don't work. We have an amazing groomer that leases space through us. We work together. So Polished Pets works with us. So we have boarding, daycare, training, grooming. And if for our training, we have group classes, private lessons, day training, and board and train. And so those are kind of our big things that we do for the daycare. We're working right now this year. We're switching the daycare out a little bit, and we're focusing a lot more on enrichment, on creating thinking dogs. Thinking dogs are great dogs because they use their melons, but it also makes them be a little bit more work because they use their melons and they're like, well, that didn't work, so let's try this. So we are working a lot more with enrichment and trying to make dogs think on their own and not just be little robots. So those are kind of the main things that we do. We do have a limited supply of products, but mainly those are the services that we offer.
So let's unpack this a little bit. This is one of the first times I've come across this terminology, this enrichment terminology. What kind of goes in to that kind of stuff?
And that's a great question because enrichment is kind of a buzzword right now. If you have a little bit of knowledge, you know you want it. If you have a lot of knowledge, you know what it is. If you don't really know, it just kind of sounds like a floofy, I don't really need that type word. So enrichment is just making your dog use their brain. So instead of just them doing specifically what they're told, sit down, stay because I told you to, here's a box, there's treats in the middle, work it out yourself. So it's kind of the same idea as how we're moving with kids is here's a pile of stuff with some glue and some kid safe scissors, make me something.
Nice.
Use your brain. So we work a lot on using their brain. We do group enrichment, so the whole group gets to do it.
Cool.
And then we also do individual enrichment for dogs that want a little bit more time. They have their own sessions. And for our dogs that can't play nice in the sand, when we do group enrichment, they get one warning. And if you're snarky, then you just go to a different play group. You're not penalized, you just don't get to play in that play group.
Right, until you learn.
It really comes down to who can play nice in the sand.
Yeah. I absolutely love the component where you guys have the drop off and pick up. that especially like my parents, for example, they left, they're on their way back. I think they come home tomorrow. They're 4-day drive all the way down to Palm Springs, California. But I rely on them to help me with my dog. And I have 4 little sessions left at the place I'd gone to prior to. But the times to try to drop the dog off or pick them up, because I'm only doing a half day, becomes really, really difficult, even though I'm only staying local for, where I'm bouncing around for that particular day.
Yeah. So we have found a big difference as we've increased. We've been increasing and we're continuing to increase, but we found a big difference in adding the enrichment with the arousal level with the dogs, and everybody's got a job to do. We have 4 different areas, so we can put our young and wild crazies in a room. We can put our babies in a room. We can put our old ladies and gentlemen in their own space. And so everybody kind of gets their spot, and then the enrichment goes based on that. But the barking, the noise, the arousal goes from way up here to way down here when you're doing the enrichment and you're engaging with them. And it's much better for staff. I have been doing this as long as we've been open, and I love it. But 12 hours of standing out there with dogs can be mind numbing if you're not doing something
Right.
and you're not looking for fights. If I'm breaking up fights for 12 hours, of course, but we don't want that. So if you're just, wandering around, you're like, oh my goodness, has the time passed? Where when you're teaching them, back up, place, spin, roll over, wait your turn, impulse control, they're getting free training, and it makes the time go faster for everyone.
Right. And talk to me a little bit about the training aspect of it.
So our training, we do group classes. Our group classes are typically Monday night is puppy night, always. Always
Okay.
Monday night is puppy night. Tuesday and Thursday are usually basic 1 or basic 2 or both, depending on our signups. Wednesday is my night, so I teach reactive. So reactive doesn't necessarily mean aggressive. Reactive just means you react, whether you're scared or you're a bully. It just means you're reacting to something. So Wednesday nights I teach reactive, and then I teach another class called manners, and that's for adolescent dogs that know how to sit, know how to down, but when you get down to Lakeshore, they're like, "What? What's my name?" So it's just taking it out into the community and reminding them that your name is your name, regardless of the situation, and helping to generalize.
Yeah.
And then on the weekends, we have some sport classes that we do.
Nice. You guys got stuff going on every day of the week, a little variety for everybody.
Yep. And then we do private lessons for people that can't commit or their dog's not necessarily suitable. And then the other big thing that we have is board and trains. And the board and trains are either for people that got puppies but don't have time to train a puppy.
Right.
So the puppy basically comes from the breeder to us and then goes home, or for people that have left it too long and now the dog's 2 or 3, and what was cute as a puppy is no longer cute. And they can't handle it and they don't have time. So then the dog comes in and stays with us, and they live with us. They're in our house. When I'm at the daycare, they're at the daycare. If I go to Muskoka to see my family, they come with me. They become part of my family.
Very cool. I'm very fortunate and blessed to have got given a nice list of instructions from my breeder. When I got Jax, my Australian Shepherd, I started crate training him right away. And when my girlfriend moved in, she's got a little Chihuahua. So there have been some bad behaviors that have developed between the two of them for barking at the front door. Is probably one of the only things we need to really kind of solve at this moment. But just recently I started putting Jax back into the crate for sleeping time again.
And
tired of
there's nothing
not
wrong
sleeping.
with that.
Yeah,
My
I mean that's
lab
a
was
safe spot, right?
17. My last lab was 17, and I didn't close her crate door for the last 10 years of her life. But her crate was always set up, and I had babies after I had her.
Right.
And she knew that was her room, and my kids were trained, don't go in there. If she goes in there, she wants to get away from you little monsters. So
Yeah.
that was her bedroom, her den, that was her place. So it's always a good idea to have a spot where your dog can go and just be like, I need to take 5.
Yeah. Yeah. And he was like getting up, you get up to go to the washroom or whatever. And just because he got out of bed, he'd be, getting up. And then next thing you know, he wants on the bed or his nails are like tick, 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 on the ground. You can't go
Yo,
back to
the
bed.
ticking drives me crazy. Our groomer's great for dremeling them because I can't handle that tick, tick, tick. Drives me crazy.
Yeah. Yeah. So very nice. Okay. Well, I'm always curious to ask people and know what their journey's been like from where they started to where they finished and how you got into doing what you do today. So have you always been doing what you're doing or were you doing something else? What's that journey look like?
So I was basically born into the world of dogs. My mom bred Siberian Huskies when I was little.
Cool.
So I've always been around litters of puppies. Um, Siberian Huskies typically are runners. And they're not bred to stay close to home. We lived in Muskoka,
Okay.
and they don't want to just stay in the yard. They're bred to go. They're also not necessarily good with cats, and as much as I'm a dog person, my cats are my thing. I
Okay.
love my cats.
You're okay.
So my mom eventually switched to Labradors, and then she got into training, but I just kind of grew up in that. And it just so happened she opened Top Dog. When she opened Top Dog, I was working for my dad, also in Barrie, as a loader operator. So I always joke I've never had a real job. I've always worked for my parents. So I worked for my dad as a loader operator in Barrie. And then when they moved the business back north, I didn't want to leave Barrie. So I went back and started working with my mom. And I've worked at the daycare on and off since I was 19. So I just kind of was born into it. I competed. I used to do confirmation and obedience trials when those were still big things. I competed when I was 11 for the first time. I
Nice.
got into rescue when I was 17. That's always an ongoing discussion with my mom and I. Rescue is my heart thing. Rescue does not pay the bills,
Right.
but rescue is my heart thing. So I just kind of grew up around this, and there's just something about it. I Lots of people that are involved in dogs say, I can't handle people, I don't like people, I just don't, I just like dogs. That's not the case for me. I like people just fine. I just feel I can understand with a dog, and I have much more patience with an animal than I do with a human.
Can't argue with that one there
And
for
I have
sure.
3 children, and they'll tell you that.
Yeah, or as well as leaving, deciding to want to stick in Barrie. I left and came back myself, so I'll echo that sentiment
Yeah.
from that perspective. So you do a lot of different things at Top Dog, but is there any like misconceptions or any myths that you hear from customers about what you guys do?
So the biggest myth, the biggest misconception with dog daycare and myself before we opened the daycare, and this is like 18 years ago, but even for myself, was dog daycare is somewhere to send your dogs to play when you don't have time to exercise them or run them, and you're just sending your dog off to play, and there's no real value to it. And that's a huge misconception. We have had so many dogs that would have been euthanized, that would have been sent back to shelters, that would have been sent back to rescues had they not come in for daycare and learned how to socialize and learned how to interact with other dogs, interact with people. There's much more to it than just dogs playing all day. It sounds like a great job, and most days it is a great job, but it's not just playing with dogs.
Oh, 100%. I've got a certain definite need between our little Chihuahua. He got attacked when he was really young. So the process of putting him and Jax together ultimately ended up working out. So he doesn't snip at him really at all anymore, that type of thing. But if it's anybody else other than him, he's certainly not socialized to his fullest capabilities from that. So we will definitely be talking at some point coming up here in the springs. I think that's a big value add for the little guy.
And and you would be so amazed. I mean, we do have some Mimptons and some Chihuahuas that are exactly what you would think of, and they're little yippy and a little bossy. But then I just sent home a Chihuahua today that she lives with a golden, but she runs my house when she's here. I had 10 dogs in my house this weekend, from a 150-pound dog right down to her, and she ruled the house. She wasn't mean, but nobody messes with Amber. And she's a very solid dog. So just because a dog's little doesn't mean they can't still be a dog.
Yeah, yeah,
Um,
100%. So when you're, I guess for the most part, you're generally speaking always around dogs.
Pretty much.
But if you're not taking care of dogs, if you're not training them, if you're not doing doggy daycare and you're in your personal life, oh, maybe away from dogs, maybe not. What do you like to do for fun? What does Kacy like to do for fun?
uh, my very favorite place is Georgian Bay. I have family in Perry Sound, and then I have family in Muskoka, Huntsville area.
Okay.
So if we're not here, usually my daughter, but when my sons are available and want to come, we go to Grandpa's. We have 18 chickens and 12 ducks at Grandpa's.
Holy shit.
We spent some time at Grandpa's before we came back to Barrie. Mom got all of these animals, came back to Barrie. You cannot have them all here. So Grandpa takes care of our chickens and our ducks, and we go home and we take care of the chickens and the ducks. We put the garden in at Grandpa's, and we spend as much time as possible in Muskoka, and we garden and we swim, and those are our happy things. We almost always have a dog with us,
Right.
but a break for us is taking one dog.
Yeah. Yeah. Take a pick of the litter there. I garden as well myself, and getting into my 4th year of doing it, I turned into a green thumb in the pandemic. My mom's always done gardening. I've always been around her doing it. Then we had all of this extra time, right, to do.
Yeah.
So trying to figure out, how not to get blight in my tomatoes for the 3rd year in a row, and all of this extra, tending to or whatever. But
Yeah.
happy to do it. The food tastes absolutely phenomenal. Way
It does,
different
and there's something. I mean, I bite my nails, but there's something about the dirt under your nails and your mucky hands at the end of the day. It's very satisfying.
Yeah, definitely therapeutic. You get out there if you give yourself a bit of a routine, and in the summer you have to do it twice. Once in the morning. I got full sun on my backyard, so especially if I get some pots up on the deck there, I'll have to water 2, sometimes 3 times.
Yeah.
Which makes it a lot of work, but it's always fun. And once you start gardening, for those who haven't, and you start tasting your own vegetables and how much different they taste when you get them at the grocery store, you'll never go back.
There's no comparison.
Yeah, 100%. No, that sounds like fun. I like all of that stuff, from gardening to swimming. I can even mess around with the chickens. That sounds like fun as well too. I want to get eventually a piece of land up north and grab a camper to start and put
Yep.
it on there, and then just slowly start adding and building until I can get a cottage up there. It has to be on a good fishing lake. That's an absolute must.
Yep. And that is my goal when we're settled here and everything is good to go, then I would like to open further north and then move further north. Barrie has served me well and I love Barrie, but I want to go home.
Yeah, Muskoka is a beautiful place, that's for sure.
Yeah.
All right. Can you describe us? Because sometimes people, they're dealt a specific hand. Life pulls us and pushes us in all kinds of different directions, and sometimes we don't get to control that. But what I really appreciate is people and their resiliency, that human nature trait that just separates some other people from others. Something bad can happen to you, and you can, decide to kind of rise up above from that. Have you ever, experienced a life challenge, maybe a hardship, where you've kind of rose above that, maybe made you better, made you stronger?
So when we first started this business, initially my mom started the business.
Yeah.
Um, she opened it and I started working there about 6 weeks later. And I've been here on and off throughout the rest of it. I took breaks when I had babies, but I've always come back. But initially, it was to find the right zoning for our business, and that's an ongoing issue. Is we need very specific zoning for a dog daycare because we need an outdoor facility. I'm not willing to have a daycare where I can't get the dogs outside. I want an outdoor
True.
area.
Yeah.
So zoning in Barrie has been an ongoing thing forever. We have it in our location right now, but we're still looking because this building will probably be going up for sale in the near future. But always trying to find the right building for us, the perfect building, the right zoning. And then more recently, my mom has retired, so everything has been transferred. So just learning that side. I
Right.
know the dogs, I know the back, I know the clients. I'm not a bookkeeper. So just kind of learning that part and finding the people to work with me, finding the right team instead of just thinking that I can figure this out, is just letting some of it go and finding the right people to help me.
I love that you said that. I talked about it earlier on today on one of the shows. Uh, that's one of a really big challenge for a business owner, is to have that ability to let go and give certain responsibilities to certain people.
Hmm.
It's your baby, right? The business is your baby, and
Yeah.
trying to let go of some of that control. And sometimes it's, well, I can't let go, or I don't want to let go because they can't do as good of a job as I can. If it's a certain case, now the bookkeeping is something you're learning. But we are definitely well connected to a few bookkeepers. I had one on the show earlier today, and
Hmm.
we have two bookkeepers as clients of ours. So if you're ever looking for a good big bookkeeper, I can definitely give you one.
Yes, definitely, because yeah, that it's not my forte. Um, and things like that, things I don't really want to learn, I struggle to learn with. I would rather do what I'm good at and then just have trust in somebody to do the stuff I don't want to do.
Yeah, totally. I mean, all of that stuff is a different language. Like, I
Yeah.
understand dog language more than I understand the bookkeeping knowledge. That's for sure.
Hmm.
We'll share that one. Okay. So, very happy to, I'm sure you've got a great following as well, too. And knowing your business, you shouldn't have a problem if you ever decide to relocate. I think a lot of your customers will
Hmm.
follow you guys wherever you go. So, what's one thing that you wish people knew about your business?
Um, I I think I kind of already touched on it, but I wish people knew that it wasn't just daycare that we provided, that we do provide training, that all of our staff are either certified trainers or in the process of training. I have really skilled training staff. Um, so we are kind of not a Walmart, but a one shop. You don't have to come to daycare here and go somewhere else for training. You can come to us. We know your dog. We spend the time with your dog. That we have those skills and knowledge too. That it's okay to come to us for training. We're quite well known for our daycare, but we all started as trainers. So
Nice. A one-stop shop, as they say.
yes.
Very nice. Very nice. Yes. And Ashley next door?
Yes.
Ashley Kendall, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Lovely lady. Met her as well, too. She's a great groomer. And
Yeah.
it's almost like adding that as a little service almost. Either to two different businesses, but very much a partnership and being side by side.
Yeah, and we work together. We share the same building. We work together. We cross promote. She does all the grooming for all of my rescues. We promote her, and I wouldn't recommend anybody but her. And her one girl, Paige, used to work for us, but she does all of the remedial dogs. So she's really good at dogs that aren't great for getting groomed, getting them comfortable in it, being force free, and making it a positive experience. So I definitely recommend them.
Phenomenal. And if anybody's interested in wanting to get a hold of you guys, what's the best way that they can do that?
Our website. So it's just TopDog K9 Services.com. We're also on Facebook, but it's Barrie TopDog K9 Services, Instagram, and TikTok.
Phenomenal. Well, that was a great conversation. Absolutely love what you guys do out there for our special pooches. And thank you so much for coming on the show.
All right. Thank you for having us.
No worries, anytime.
Okay.
Thank you for listening to the Good Neighbor Podcast Midhurst. To nominate your favorite local businesses to be featured on the show, go to gnpmidhurst.com. That's gnpmidhurst.com or call 705-413-3775.